My mom is called Grace Ngena. She suffers from rheumatoid arthritis. She's had it since early 90s. So now her joints her bone marrow are all gone. Work on her joints, and her hands, and her legs, and her neck. From last year, she had a stroke. She suffered a major one this year, which took a toll on her. And she's had her right leg amputated. That was 3 years ago.
After years of helping her mother battle chronic health problems, Ngendo Machua reached a breaking point last month when her mother needed a surgery she could not afford.
So he broke it down for me. He told me, this will come to almost $500,000. I was like, $500,000? $500,000 is what I used to go through my whole university life. Like, $500,000 is a lot of money. We don't have that kind of money just lying around.
So Ngendo did what she does every day. She shared the details of her personal life with her 2,000 Twitter followers. Jokingly, she asked if anyone had a spare 500,000 shillings laying around. What happened next wasn't a joke at all. In 2 days, the Kenyan diaspora united on Twitter and raised 200,000 shillings. As it turned out, a second medical opinion on Grace's ankle said that was how much the surgery would cost.
And she didn't understand what Twitter is. She doesn't know how the money came. I try explaining to her, but sometimes I get so emotional. I'm like, it's a very moving story. Even just to look at her and see that the surgery was done, it's just amazing.
Ngendo's story points to a much larger trend, and that is Kenya's rapid transition into the digital age. Driven by government investment in information technology infrastructure, unique social circumstances, and the Kenyan entrepreneurial spirit, dramatic change is underway in all facets of Kenyan life, from business and banking to politics and journalism.
We are going through a serious revolution in terms of media, in the sense that after it settles is when you would understand that those changes were actually revolutionary.
In fact, this online revolution may have been sparked, at least in part, by one of the darkest moments in recent Kenyan history.
I think the bulk of the online activity among young Kenyans started with the last elections, because after the post-election violence, people were going to the online forums, the websites, the Twitters, the blogs to get, immediate feedback that was being transmitted from all across the city, the country, and understand what was really going on.
Fast forward to 2011. The circumstances are far less dire, but Kenyans are breaking new technological ground at a rapid pace. If the revolution has a physical epicenter, it is here at the iHub. Located on Gong Road in Upper Hill, it is an open workspace and coffee shop where bloggers and online trailblazers of all types gather to share and create new ideas. Some of the biggest technological innovations to come out of Kenya have come from the people who gather here. In fact, Kenyan innovators are starting to set standards not just for Africa, but for the world. Ushahidi, whose co-founders also helped to start the iHub, is a crowdsourcing technology that grew out of the 2007 post-election violence and has since been used to track global disasters, including the earthquakes in Haiti and Japan. Safaricom's m-pesa system has set the global standard for mobile device micropayments and has challenged the banking industry to adjust. Legions of web-savvy students are graduating from universities every year, and now foreign investors are turning their attention towards Nairobi. With that momentum, Bitangi Ndemo says it is his goal for the tech industry to jump from accounting for 5% of Kenyan GDP to 25% in the next 5 years. A $7 billion planned city called Konza has already broken ground near Amboseli. The goal is that Konza will attract multinational tech corporations and help to build the future backbone of the Kenyan economy. Online and data technology may be reshaping business in Kenya, but the revolution doesn't stop there. Systematic political corruption may face its greatest challenge not at the polls, but from an online database being built right now. As designed, www.opengov.go.ke will track every dollar of government spending.
This is the best way of fighting corruption, by closing the loopholes. the source of crisis in 2007 was because some communities felt marginalized. And now we have put it there to say, this is the money that was given to your district, and this is how it was spent. And if you find that actually it was not spent, you stand up and say, this is nonsense, there is nothing, we don't have anything on the ground. Now, there is no better monitoring system than that.
Even journalists must now contend with a sea of critics and skeptics that need only an internet connection to voice their opinions. Perhaps nobody understands this tension better than NTV business anchor Larry Madowo, who earlier this year sparked a war of words on Twitter.
So it's interesting, somebody put up a post on a very popular blog, which is not journalistic, I need to add. And they're saying, dear business editors, and they went on to detail what business journalists and business editors generally need to do. A lot of it, and they went on to attack one of the shows we do here on NTV, which is called PM Live. And so I took issue with that, not directly, but I just said on my Twitter page that, dear bloggers, having an internet connection doesn't necessarily make you an expert in everything, signed actual experts. And so this is a big deal. To date, I'm still called an actual expert on Twitter, and I don't mind it because somebody needed to say it.
And he kind of just decided that he knows what he's doing and you should shut up, and yeah. It may have been misconstrued, here and there, but, we got the message. He said it, and we replied, and they replied, and it snowballed a bit. I guess it's over.
This isn't the first fight that Media Madness has been involved in.
I would say we expose the dark side of what most Kenyans wouldn't know about some parts of the media.
The popular blog regularly skewers the national media. It does so anonymously. Fashion blogger Nigel Mora is the only Media Madness contributor who publishes under his real name.
I'm a blogger myself. I was a blogger before I was a journalist, and I appreciate what they do. And being anonymous, I believe it has its reasons. Sometimes because of what you do or how you do it, you need to remain anonymous. I have absolutely no problem with that. But going extremely personal, that is the big thing I have a problem with, because that's very unprofessional. It is below the belt. Whether you're a journalist or a blogger for that matter, it is just below the belt, and it has no place in a modern society.
Well, for the kind of content that Media Madness runs, I think it's fair that the team of Media Madness remains largely anonymous, because, no disrespect, but in a country where the industry is quite literally in bed with the elite, it's a risk to your life and to those around you and to what we have to bring to the table. It risks compromising that when you use your real name.
At the end of the day, it's the same audience. Really, in a broad context, it's the same. And even if you drill down, the people who consume bloggers' content still tend to also consume mainstream content. And the point at which those two forces meet will really mean a better outcome, better thought-through stories, and better disseminated content.
Every day, more and more Kenyans are going online. And while it is difficult to know exactly how many Kenyans access the internet, the government estimates that it is at least a quarter of the population. And the rapid growth of mobile technology is paving the way for even more people to get online. According to official figures, nearly 65% of Kenyans have mobile phones. And over 10% of Kenyans have mobile devices that access the internet, and that number is growing dramatically. And, in a show of Kenyans' love of connecting to each other, the most commonly visited site in the country is Facebook. The next measuring stick for the growing influence of new media will likely come in next year's elections.
I think social media will more than likely be a vehicle for change. Change in perception more than anything. It will allow us to speak what needs to be spoke, will allow us to say what we need to say. It will allow us to directly interact with some of these politicians. We will hold you accountable. That's the type of perception that I think social media will bring to young people. It'll begin the discussion, it'll spark the discussion, and it's also going to influence people to demand the change.
As Kenya's digital revolution continues, Ngendo continues to care for her mother Grace. No easy task, but thanks to Kenya's online prowess, it's gotten a little easier for both of them.
I'm feeling better.
She's feeling better.